I spent 12 hours in a movie theater, starting with the first 10 a.m. screening and staying until the last one. I am no rookie to the all-day challenges. I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy in one day. I did all of the Twilight movies in a day. Both experiences pretty exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason I haven't done them in a long time. That was a different time. I'm a different guy now. The movies are back, and to show my absolute love for the movies, I wanted to spend all day in a movie theater. Something that ended up being way more exhausting than I anticipated. For my poison of choice, I picked the AMC New City in Chicago. I have the balls to say it. It's a personal favorite of mine. Probably the best AMC in the city. And I started with the 2018 animated film, The Grinch. Why they're playing this movie in the year 2022, I do not know. There are other Christmas classics you could be screening. I don't know why this is the go-to. I got hit with my first wave of embarrassment when I walked into the theater and realized I am fully a 25-year-old man alone here at a 10 a.m. screening of a 4-year-old animated film for children. It isn't old enough where it would make sense for me to go see it for comfort. It isn't new enough to make it seem like I'm there for a proper review. Just me and the two families in the movie theater. It was pathetic. We sat through, 20 minutes of trailers, one of which was the trailer for 80 for Brady, a movie I do not think needs a trailer before the kids' movies. I don't even know if it's a real movie. And we strapped in for Christmas. I mean, really, the first 10 minutes of it are very whimsical and sweet, and it made me glad I was starting my day with a relatively easy watch. It's nice on the eyes. I did disassociate pretty quickly, and I started fantasizing about kicking back at home and watching Glass Onion on Netflix. Which reminds me that this week's video is sponsored by Glass Onion. Glass Onion is the latest in Rian Johnson's Knives Out series, and it's available on Netflix right now. I caught it at TIFF and during its theater run, and I gotta say both times were some of my favorite movie watching experiences of the year. An interesting detail about the film is how it talks about hydrogen, a low-carbon fuel that is a piece of the puzzle for the climate transition. Hydrogen undergoes intense safety testing and is already being used to power buildings, trains, and other heavy-duty uses. And that's just one of many ways the film tells a classic whodunit story through a contemporary lens. Glass Onion is one of the most clever and entertaining films of the year, and you can stream it now on Netflix.
It's a little bit past 11. I didn't finish The Grinch because,
Yes, I did leave The Grinch halfway through. We all know what happens. He steals Christmas. I never said I had to finish the movies. I just said I had to spend all day in the movie theater, which I did. But I had to leave early because my next 11 a.m. screening was Top Gun Maverick, a movie that also... It's weird that it's still playing in theaters, honestly. I sat in front of a father and son, maybe 40 and 70, and they loved it. And that just put a big... fat, wet smile across my face. This one felt good. I love this movie. It's a really easy movie to just chill out to and enjoy. We did sit through the 80 for Brady trailer. Again, the dad did not like that one. But Top Gun Maverick as a movie is just so incredibly well made and nearly made me cry. All in all, I was feeling pretty good. So at this point, watching 45 minutes of The Grinch and then all of Top Gun felt like no big deal. It was just another Tuesday. Meaning it makes sense that I'm not feeling particularly worn out yet. But I will say, after finishing Top Gun, every bone in my body wanted to walk out of that theater and go home and just play God of War. But no, I had to get right back in and get devoted. It was time for devotion. When I bought these tickets, I did not realize that I would be following up one U.S. military movie starring Glenn Powell, where they're flying planes, with another U.S. military movie starring Glenn Powell, where they are flying planes. And yes, you did hear me correct. I did buy tickets. Let me explain. My logic here is that it would be less embarrassing if they did catch me sneaking into one of these other movies, and I ended up pulling out my phone and saying, yeah, I did buy 5 tickets in one day. It just felt right, Support local cinemas, AMC. When I opened the theater doors, I could hear something familiar, something that sounded like family. It was the 80 for Brady trailer again. I pulled up my pants and prepared myself to sit through another 80 for Brady experience, only to realize that it was just the audio for 80 for Brady, which after having seen it 2 times already that morning, I could visualize the whole thing even without the video. As soon as I sat down, I realized that I was fucking starving because it's 1 p.m. and I haven't eaten since 9 a.m., which means I was faced with the thing I was scared of all day, which was paying for AMC food. There are pretty much no options on the AMC menu for proper meals that aren't $20, so I went the cheapest thing I could find, which was chicken tenders. Now, a quick food review, the AMC chicken fingers are about as average as you'd expect them to be. They don't taste like anything. They're terribly bland. Not even the honey mustard was good, but I will say I did get a good amount of tenders, so it was enough to fill me up, but I don't remember tasting any of them. Before I know it, it was time to sit my ass down and get devoted. Devotion was the only film of the day that I hadn't seen already, and I'm kind of glad. When doing a challenge like this, I think watching something familiar helped because I knew all the story beats and knew how to pace myself. I knew when it was almost over. Devotion is a long-ass movie, and it's not that interesting. Both Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell are really great. They're giving it everything they got, and their banter is definitely the best part of this. I just didn't think the story was told in a way that was all that interesting. Any interesting directing choices, like this one shot of Powell crashing a plane, felt like it belonged in another movie that would do it better. I'm trying to think of what movie would do it better. Maybe it's the one I saw literally right before this. I don't know. It wasn't awful at all. It was perfectly fine, but it didn't do anything I hadn't already seen done better before, like literally an hour before. After Devotion, I was dead. I got too devoted. Something about having to sit through a movie that was well over 2 hours that also happened to be really bad just kind of kicked my ass down. I was thirsty. I had no idea how I was going to make it through the next 2 3-hour movies. Thankfully, my girlfriend Cookie and my good friend John were there to save me. That's right, it's family time. It was Fableman's time, and I wasn't about to watch Steven Spielberg's parents get divorced sober, so I got myself a beer. I don't know if it's because my friends showed up, if it was the movie, or if it was the beer, but this experience re-energized me completely. Halfway through, I literally forgot I had spent all day in the movies. I was simply just taken aback by how good The Fablemans was. The Fablemans is one of my favorite movies of the year, and my second viewing just really confirmed that. I'm the kind of guy that never cries the first time I watch something, and always cry the second time, and my god, I was choking up throughout most of this. I got more to say on this at a later date because yeah, it is definitely making the top 10. But after Devotion, this felt like I downed a Red Bull. I was back, baby. The Fablemans is a pretty long movie, which means it most definitely went well into my final film of the day, Tar. After an entire day of being in the movie theater, it was time for my final film, and I can't think of a funnier choice than Tar. I walked into Tar about halfway through that first New Yorker interview scene, and I'm really glad this was my second time watching Tar, because if it were my first time, I think I would have given up on the film completely and just walked out. I love Tar. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, but when I walked in, halfway through that scene, a feeling of misery just washed over me. Feeling that, oh my god, I am gonna have to sit through a very wordy, very slow movie for like 3 hours after I just finished another nearly 3-hour long film. All the energy I got from The Fablemans wore off. I was just drained. I don't know if it was just because I was delirious, but something about watching this movie a second time, knowing how things pan out, it just made it hilarious. Being able to kind of sit back and just enjoy rather than feel too stupid to understand the pretentious shit Tar spews for most of the movie made for a really good time. On my way up the stairs, I noticed a guy right behind me had like 3 plastic bags by his feet. Plastic bags that I did hear for a good portion of this movie. What was in those bags, I will never know. I did not hear him eating or drinking anything. I just heard them rustling around. Those bags, it'll always be a mystery to me, and it was a bigger thing than it should have been. The Tar ending, which I will not spoil, is one of my favorite endings of any movie ever. An ending that would catch me off guard on a sane day. After sitting in a movie theater for over 11 hours, I damn near lost my mind at the ending of this movie. I almost started crying at Tar. I listened to the beautiful credits music and made my way out. Now I know what you're thinking. You did it. You made it through. But if you did the math correctly, if you had a calculator, you would notice that I was only there for 11 hours. What happened to 12? You said you were there for 12 hours. See, I thought it was over. I thought I was home free. Until. Oh my god. I thought we would make it out of this day pretty unscathed. I mean, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm worn out, and I want to go home. Some backstory. About 2 weeks ago, my debit card got scammed and I had to close the card, obviously, to keep people from stealing my money. This is not a sponsor, right? This is not a sponsor segue. But what that means is that I have had to use my credit card, which is fine. But my credit card has a credit limit. And I didn't think that would be an issue, but since I've been living off of it, I blew through that limit this week. And to pay it off would take a few days to process to up the limit. And I was waiting for the day for this to be an issue, and it happened to become an issue right now, at the end of 12 hours of being at the movie theater. Basically, there's a parking ramp that you have to park in, right? Because I live in this shitty city. So you need to pay for parking to get out of these ramps, and I am not able to pay for parking. So my car is stuck in that ramp because I can't pay for parking. After 12 hours at the movies, I am still here waiting for my friend to come to pay for my parking ticket. It does not get much more humiliating than that. And I sat there for another hour until my friend was able to come by and pay for the ticket. I was the first guy to get to this movie theater, and I was the last one to leave. I am the biggest AMC fan around. What did I learn from this experience? Nothing. Literally nothing. I wanted to see how miserable it would be, and I can confirm it's not a fun time. If you are considering doing this, unless it's like a planned event from the theater, just don't. Don't do it. It wasn't fun, my eyes hurt, and I hate movies now. And that's about all I have to say about one of the biggest waste of days I've had in a long time. So thanks for watching. Go watch all these films and form your own opinion. And before you head out,